it is time for our scripture reading. And my scripture today is inspired by Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Happy New Year. It's a new day. It's a new year. And it's hard to believe we are already 11 days into this new year of 2026. There's something about that calendar flipping over every year from December 31st to January 1st. It marks the beginning of a new cycle, new beginnings, a fresh start, a fresh perspective. It reminds us that periodically we need to hit the reset button on our internal computer to reset our perspective and our mind. When our computers aren't working and they're running a little sluggish and things just aren't working right, what's the first thing we do? We reach for that restart button. Let's just turn it off and let it reset itself and start all over again. And when we do that, something occurs behind the scenes. It resets the brain of the computer, and everything seems to come up, working as it should, running smoothly again. Well, perhaps the same could be true for us. When we restart our mind, we shut down everything, and it gives us an opportunity to reset our perspective. During the shutdown process, our mind takes a break and it pauses. It has a chance to renew itself, giving our body, mind, and spirit an opportunity to regroup and to rebalance. Rather than making New Year's resolutions, perhaps we can think of it instead as a New Year's restart. The good news is we don't have to wait for the new year. We can hit that restart button anytime we want to. For me, the challenge with resolutions is once we slip up, we tend to put it on the back burner for another year. It gives us an excuse to say, well, I tried, but it didn't work. So I'll just go back to my old way of doing things and my old way of thinking, maybe next year. I've been working out at a gym for over 40 years. And for those who may go to the gyms, the busiest week of the year is the first week in January. The gym is crowded with all of the New Year's resolutions. And slowly, the attendance begins to decline throughout January until it returns to normal in February. For those of us who go there all the time, we actually kind of look forward to February because we've got, the classes aren't as crowded. You don't have to wait in line for a machine. But for the people that made the resolutions, perhaps it's not such a good thing. because for them, it'd probably be a good thing to still be there in February. Resolutions may draw a line in the sand. Once we slip up, it gives us that excuse to put it off for another year. But one slip doesn't mean we should abandon our goals. If we don't feel like going to the gym today because we're tired, we don't feel good, tomorrow's another day. If we eat pie for dessert, we shouldn't abandon our goal of limiting sugar and punishing ourselves. No, all we need to do is get back on track tomorrow. It's that simple. A restart is a pause, allowing us to reevaluate what is or isn't working, looking at our goals, and deciding what we have accomplished, what we no longer desire to manifest, and what new goals we have set our sights on. It is fluid, it is constantly changing and moving, and it gives us grace if we slip up, gently nudging us when we get off track and reminding us to move forward in our progression. If we don't accomplish our goal the first time, well, we wake up the next morning and we try again and again and again and again. A restart, think about it, is also healthy for our computer, for emptying the recycle bin of our mind, clearing out the stale and unproductive behaviors and thoughts that no longer serve us. If you let the recycle bin of your computer pile up, it begins to slow down the functionality of your computer. So even though you've deleted those programs, even though you've tried to forget about those thoughts, they're sitting there hanging out behind the scenes. And so the same can be said with the recycle bin of our mind. If we don't consciously empty it, then it slows us down. It may divert us from focusing on our goals. Change begins with a single thought and with the renewing of our mind. That thought, that one thought, is the spark that lights our ignition. And change begins to occur when we change the way we think and when we intentionally plant the seeds of our desires. In the Hindu scripture of the Bhagavad Gita, it says, elevate yourself through the power of your mind and not degrade yourself, for the mind can be the friend and also the enemy of the self. Let's look at this a little more closely. It says we can either elevate or degrade ourselves through the power of our thoughts. Our mind can create what we desire, or it can tear us down. And they also speak of the importance of disciplining our mind, becoming the master of our mind, and using this power wisely. The mind can be a friend, or the mind can be a foe. So we want to be mindful of how we use it. Have you ever been in a situation where your mind creates something that doesn't exist? Well, I have. My mind will start wandering down a path of its own, leading me to places that are completely unfounded in truth. Sometimes we can imagine the worst instead of the best. And when we do this, the mind becomes that foe instead of a friend. Then, when we learn the truth, we realize that what we imagined was completely unfounded. When we start going down these unfounded paths, we want to catch ourselves. And that's when we want to start exercising discipline over our mind, stopping our mind from going down that rabbit hole, resetting our thoughts, and directing our mind to envision the outcome we desire, thinking positive and putting out the intentions for the most favorable result. The Hindu teachings encourage us to control our senses by fixing our mind on the divine, by fixing our mind on God. In doing so, we can overcome those worldly thoughts that can lead us to self-destruction. And the Hindu scripture also encourages us cultivate calmness, gentleness, silence, self-restraint, and purities as disciplines of the mind. It is their philosophy that our belief shapes our reality. The Bhagavad Gita says, man is made by his belief. As he believes, so is he. Does this sound familiar? Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Buddhist philosophy teaches that one renews their mind through practices such as mindfulness and meditation, with the goal of transforming our consciousness through enlightenment, through truth. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I'm going to say next. The Buddhist philosophy also teaches whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of the mind. Three different philosophies with the same common thread, said a little differently, but each is saying, as we think, so are we. Renewing our mind involves a shift in our perspective, detaching oneself from that worldly ego and aligning our perspective with the spiritual I am of God in us. And mindfulness guides us to live with intention. When we live with intention, we are creating our reality with our thoughts. And when we couple mindfulness, living with intention, with meditation, we are seeking the wisdom and divine guidance to create that which is for our highest and greatest good. Seeking all that is in harmony with the I am in us. Every morning when we open our eyes, we choose how we're going to spend the day and what we are going to create with our thoughts. It's a fresh start. Yesterday's gone. It's gone. So let it go. We can't change yesterday. The only thing we can change is today. We often face the crossroads of choices. What are we going to create? And how are we going to react? Will our mind be a friend? Or will our mind be a foe? Are we going to use our mind to envision and manifest the desired outcome? Or are we going to use our mind and allow it to take us into the deep, dark abyss that is not founded by truth? There is a saying that I think of often when I'm confronted with what am I going to do next? And it says, when we are given lemons, we figure out how to make lemonade. Not everything's going to go our way. Not everything's going to be perfect. But we can make lemonade and make the most out of every situation. The new year reminds us that it's time for a reset. And as I mentioned, we don't have to wait for January 1st. Every day is an opportunity to renew our mind. Actually, every moment. We don't even have to wait for a new day. Every moment, we can renew the way we think, seeking to transform our consciousness by aligning ourselves with that divine spark, that divine spirit of the I am in us. Living in harmony with the divine through meditation and mindfulness. Remember, we can allow our mind to be a friend. We can allow it to be a foe. With discipline, it can be our best friend. And we can live a happy and fulfilling life. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And so it is. Namaste.